Hello to all my listeners tuning in out there. Welcome to Fractured Poet, a podcast for all of you poetically insane individuals who love getting lost in the art of poetry. Podcasting from Ontario, California, I am Katrina Wisniewski, just another person in the world obsessed with words, striving to make sense of it all. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different from previous episodes, poetry theme-wise. The name of this episode is called Thriller because the poems I am going to recite are a little bit on the suspenseful side, hence the name of the episode. So the 4 poems I chose to read during this episode have no personal tie to myself, nor does it involve anyone else. These are just simply poems. This first poem is called Insanity Knocks. I can feel you slowly creeping into my thoughts. A sudden rage floods my veins. A time of fight or flight. Both fists to the wall. Blood begins to seep through the cracks. And now the pain starts. My thoughts are out of control, holding my head in my hands as my fingers aggressively find their way through my hair, desperately gripping on to each strand. Pinned in a corner, rocking back and forth, becoming completely aware of my downward spiral. I am past the point of no return. I find myself repeating the same words over and over. Make it stop. Please make it stop. This poem was written back in 2019, sometime in June to be exact. I can't really say or recall where the words for this poem came from, and honestly, I don't remember what I was doing at the time of composing this poem. I get into these moods or moments where poems like this creep out from some dark, twisted place in my head, and this would be the end result. But honestly, after reading this poem out loud and really thinking about the words, I know I mentioned at the beginning of the show that none of the poems I'm going to read have anything to do with me, but maybe this one anyways has a lot to do with me. I can pinpoint myself having moments like this where something creeps up into my thoughts in my head and it sends my skin crawling. And if I had to describe this poem as a type of emotion, I would have to say it definitely brings out an anxiety type of emotion. I think back to the times where I have had anxiety/panic attacks, and every word that is used in this poem hits the spot in so many ways. And it's scary because when writing this poem, I don't remember thinking about it that way, or even thinking about myself having like a panic or an anxiety attack. And if you've ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack, you know that they are not fun by any means. It's really difficult to come out of one. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the next poem. The second poem I'm going to recite is called Silence. Hush now. Try not to make a sound. However, if you must speak, please keep your voice down to a lull. But I shall warn you to please tread lightly, for your life may be in danger. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't wander off into the shadows. They can see you. Don't speak to anything unknown. There are ears everywhere. But most of all, take heed of the silence. Don't forget to listen closely, for you may experience something quite profound. Don't let the calm of things distract you, a peace-like stillness that can surely last for hours. This solitary quietude was never meant for someone like you. All right, so the concept of this poem came from a poetry book I mentioned quite a few episodes ago. So, in case some of you don't remember, or for those of you who are just tuning in and don't know, I will explain the book I am referring to. I happened to walk into a Five Below store for the first time a couple years ago, and I was browsing the store, seeing what it was all about, and I come across this long table in the center of the store. This table had a bunch of different books and whatnot on top of it. And as I was browsing through the piles on the table, I came across this book called Write the Poem. And what a surprise, because it has poem in the title, I picked it up and I started looking through it. And the book contained pages with various topics, and below the topic is a list of words that pretty much describe and or define the topic of choice. Silence was a topic, hence the title of the poem I just read, which is Silence. Without hesitation, surprise, I bought the book and have been using it ever since. So there's a little background story behind the poem. And as it turns out, this book is actually really fun. It literally helps my writer's block when I have a craving to write a poem but can't find the words. The words are practically given to me. So I'll go into the next poem, and this one does not have a title, so here it is. The voices in my head are louder than ever. They always have something to say, and have become very needy. I only wish for these voices to go silent. Allow me some peace. Is it strange to say that sometimes these voices define me, controlling every minute of every day, steering me in different directions? I fear the day when I no longer hear them, for I might be lost without them, these voices inside my head. Before you go there, no, I don't have voices in my head. Again, another poem, I have no idea where it came from. It's just another poem, honest. I could have been watching a movie or listening to a song that somehow triggered me to think of this poem. And if I haven't said it already, my mind can be pretty twisted when it comes to things I write about in my poetry. My poems can get dark and a bit morbid at times, and can't really say much more on that. Well, here is the last poem of the show. This one is called Hush. Hush now, there is much to say. The red dawn is coming, so listen closely. I know you're afraid and twisted with hate. Into the woods you will go, a savage you will become. The end is near, so be prepared. Take what you can, and whatever you do, don't give in. I hear them now. It's time to go. Get your things. They will always be one step ahead. This poem was written back in January of 2017. I think I was watching or just watched the movie Red Dawn. That movie might have played a part in writing this poem. It's the only thing I can think of that might have contributed to my thoughts while writing out this particular poem. One of my really close friends told me about this movie, the newer version of Red Dawn, the one with Chris Hemsworth in it. I was told it was a remake of the original Red Dawn, and I don't recall even watching the original, and if I did, I don't remember. But yeah, the movie was very intense, really good actually. I guess I had that movie in my head when I decided to write this poem, who knows. I can't really say anything else on it. Again, there's no backstory, there's no relevance to me or tied to me in any way, so I can't really get into much of that. But anyway, since these poems don't really have much of a story behind them, like I just said, I suppose this is a good time to end the show. And to those of you who are always tuning in, a huge, huge hug and thanks for hanging out with me this long. And even those who are just tuning in, don't hesitate to go back, to the beginning and listen to all of the episodes leading up to this point. I hope you like what you heard, and you tune in next time. You can catch this and further episodes at anchor.fm/Fractured Poet. This episode of Fractured Poet was written and produced by me, Katrina Wisniewski. Music by Alternative Rock Volume 1 and Rock Electronica Volume 4 from freeplaymusic.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Fractured Poet. And as always, thanks for listening, and until next time.